You've walked past it 100 times. Tucked where your porch ceiling meets the wall, stuck to the side of your shed, a patch of what looks like dried mud flicked there by accident, rough, sandy-colored. Sometimes one tube, the length of your finger, sometimes 5 or 6 together, a tiny clay pipe organ, half-finished. Most people don't see it as a thing. They see dirt, grime, one more job, knock it down with the hose, scrape it off next cleaning day. But that tube isn't a stain. It isn't debris. It's a sealed container. And what's packed inside it right now, today, is something most homeowners never find out. So before you grab that scraper, before you blast it with the hose, before you do what you've already done to a dozen of these without thinking, stop. Don't touch it. Not yet. Once you know what's sealed inside that tube, you may never want to remove one again. Here's what we're going to do. First, who built this thing? Because it wasn't an accident. It was built on purpose, by something with a plan. Then, what's actually living inside it right now? Then, why that might be doing you a bigger favor than anything you've ever paid an exterminator for. And by the end, you'll know exactly what to do and exactly not to do the next time you find one on your own property. Let's start with who built it. That tube was built by a mud dauber, a solitary wasp, not the kind you're picturing. A few species do this. The black and yellow mud dauber, the organ pipe mud dauber, named for tubes that line up like the instrument, and the blue mud dauber, the most important one, and we'll come back to her. Together, these wasps have moved into almost every man-made structure in North America. Porches, garages, barns, under bridges, window frames, anywhere flat, sheltered, and close to mud, one's probably already there. And here's the part that surprises people. She's not building a home for herself. She never sleeps in that tube, not once. Every mud tube on your wall is something else entirely, a structure she builds, seals, and walks away from forever, for offspring she will never meet. Here, wasp, and your brain does something automatic. A picnic table, a yellow jacket that wouldn't leave your soda alone, maybe a paper wasp nest your dad knocked down with a broom from a very safe distance, very fast. Forget all of that. The mud dauber is not that wasp. Yellow jackets and paper wasps are social. They live in colonies, a queen to protect, hundreds of sisters working together. That's why they get aggressive. Defending the group is the whole point of their existence. The mud dauber has none of that. No colony, no queen, no hind mind telling her to attack. She builds alone, hunts alone, raises her young alone, with zero interest in defending territory she's about to abandon anyway. Reassuring. Entomologists who've studied these wasps for years all say the same thing. Getting one to actually sting you takes real, deliberate effort. You could stand a few feet from an active nest all afternoon, and the odds of her even noticing you exist are close to zero. She has a job to do, and it has nothing to do with you. So what's her job? This is where it gets strange. The mud dauber is a hunter, specifically a spider hunter. Not a hobby, not occasional, her entire biological purpose, built by millions of years to do one thing. She flies out and searches, cracks in your siding, the dark space behind a shutter, the underside of a deck railing, anywhere a spider might hide. When she finds one, she doesn't kill it. She does something more precise, a single, surgical sting straight into its nervous system. Not a killing sting, a paralyzing one. The spider doesn't die, it goes still, completely, permanently. But everything underneath stays alive. Its tissue doesn't decay like a dead spider's would. It just stops, suspended, fresh, for weeks. Then she picks it up,
sometimes a spider far bigger than she is, and carries it back to the tube, pushes it inside, flies off, finds another and another. She'll do this again and again, stocking that one chamber with paralyzed spider after paralyzed spider until it's packed full. Only then does she lay a single egg on top of the last one and seal the chamber shut with a fresh plug of mud. When that egg hatches, the larva isn't born into an empty room. It's born into a sealed vault, a living pantry, stocked in advance by a mother it will never see. It eats through the spiders one by one, freshest first, until nothing's left. Then it pupates right there in the mud, and weeks later chews its way out as a fully grown wasp. The hunt, the sting, the stalking, the sealing, the birth, all of it inside that one unremarkable tube on your wall. And this exact process has played out in structures just like it for over 100 million years.
Okay, she hunts spiders. Interesting. A little unsettling, maybe. But here's the question that actually matters. Standing on your porch, looking at your wall, which spiders does she prefer? Out of every mud dauber species, one stands out. The blue mud dauber. And researchers who've opened up her nests have found something that should change how you look at that tube on your wall forever. She has a strong, documented preference for one spider, the black widow. Not occasionally, not a rare catch. In multiple studies across multiple states, scientists cracking open blue mud dauber nests have found black widows making up a huge share of what's stored inside. In some nests, almost every spider packed in there was a black widow. Sit with that. The structure you've been planning to scrape off your wall, the one you've been treating like grime, might be actively stocked right now with the one spider in your yard that can put you or your kid in the emergency room. Think about where black widows like to live. Wall crevices, garage corners, the dark, undisturbed gaps under your deck or behind your shutters. Exactly the places a can of spray can't fully reach. Exactly the places a blue mud dauber hunts best. She's not stumbling onto black widows by accident. She's going into the same tight, hidden spaces they prefer, finding them and removing them one by one, permanently, for free. If you've ever found a black widow in your garage and felt that cold drop in your stomach, there's a real chance the mud dauber on your wall is part of the reason you haven't found 10 more. Let that sink in. A wasp you've been planning to knock off your wall with a broom handle may be the single most effective black widow control on your entire property. Better than spray, better than traps, working a job you never hired her for, in spaces you can't even reach, for nothing in return. One more thing about these nests, something that happens when an old one, already abandoned, already empty, finally gets cracked open. Spiders fall out. Sometimes dozens of them. Not skeletons, not dust, preserved, mummified by time inside that sealed chamber, but still intact, legs still folded the exact way they were the moment the venom hit. Small brown ones, larger orb weavers, and sometimes, unmistakably, black widows, their red markings still vivid even after months sealed in the dark. A sealed archive, a tiny, accidental museum of every spider that's been hiding in the cracks of your house, collected and catalogued with more precision than you could ever manage yourself. Some people find it disturbing. Others find it one of the strangest, most fascinating things they've ever seen on their own property.
Most land somewhere between unsettled and a little in awe that something this methodical has been happening on their wall the entire time, completely unnoticed. So what should you actually do about the tube on your wall? It comes down to one question: active or abandoned? If it's active, if you see a wasp coming and going, hauling in fresh mud or a paralyzed spider, leave it alone. She won't expand it into a colony. She won't stick around for years. She'll finish, seal the last tube, and move on for good. She won't even reuse this nest next season. If it's abandoned, dry, sealed, no movement, you have options. Leave it. Costs you nothing, and empty tubes often become winter shelter for other beneficial insects. Or, if it bothers you, remove it later, late autumn or winter, once you're sure nothing is still developing inside. But here's the one thing you should never do. Never destroy an active nest. Not because she'll retaliate, she won't, she barely notices you're there, but because you'd be shutting down a process working in your favor. You'd be removing one of the most precise natural defenses against dangerous spiders in your entire yard, for free, on purpose, for nothing. So next time you walk past that mud tube, porch, garage, shed, and your hand instinctively reaches for the hose or the scraper, stop. Remember this: that tube isn't a problem. It never was. It's a solution. A small, hand-built, mud-sealed solution to a spider problem you didn't even know you had. Have you ever found one of these on your own property, or already cracked one open and found what was waiting inside? Tell me in the comments, have you found one of these in your own garden before? If this is the kind of thing that gets you, finding out what's really hiding inside something you've walked past 100 times, that's exactly what this channel is for. Hit subscribe and tap that notification bell so you don't miss the next video.